Okay. Hey everyone. So, welcome back. It's a gorgeous day out today. It's about 70 degrees and the sun is shining, and we got a beautiful gentle breeze here in North Carolina today. This is where I'm at today, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that's kind of been on my mind, and I've seen some stuff trending on YouTube and social media and whatnot that I thought was really important, and it kind of reminded me of something that I experienced in one in my childhood, and I thought it was something that was really important. And it was basically how the Boy Scouts of America turned young men into leaders. And I think that this is something that's really important to talk about. And, I'm starting to see how men are kind of breaking the mold that has been made of them over the last 25, 30 years. And, you're starting to see men stand their ground on a lot of different things that you normally wouldn't have seen. And I thought it was really important to talk about this because, in Boy Scouts, one of the things that I learned in Boy Scouts very quickly was that you learned really quick how to rely on yourself and how to lead. And those are the two things that I think that men are very capable of doing, but have been held back a lot in the last, 10, 15 years. And now they're kind of breaking the mold on that. So when I was a Boy Scout, I started in Scouts when I was 12 years old. This was in 1983, I believe it was. 1982, 1983, somewhere in there. And in order to get into Boy Scouts, you had to be voted in. So everyone in the troop had to vote for you, yay or nay, to let you into the troop. Okay? So once that happened, you were approved, you got into the troop, you started going to the meetings once a week, but then you had to be also voted into, because within the troop, you're voted into different patrols. There's different, could be 2 patrols, it could be 5 or 6 patrols, depending on how big the troop is. So you would have these patrols, and then you would be voted into a certain patrol. Somebody had to nominate you to get into the troop. Somebody had to nominate you to get into the patrol, right? So you had to be voted in. And so once you got voted in and everybody agreed, then you were part of that patrol, and whatever that patrol did within the troop, then you would be also doing as well. So it was almost kind of like a privilege to be a part of the troop and the patrol, because it was so difficult to get in. It took, it could take up to a month to try to get into a troop, and sometimes it may take longer than that. So, once you're in this troop, then, you would do certain things within this troop, depending on your scoutmasters. Well, the scoutmasters, in my particular case, were all coming out of Vietnam. A lot of them were Vietnam vets, and so they were very skilled at survival. They were very skilled at using knives and guns. They knew a lot about all these different things. First aid. I mean, they had such a wide range of knowledge because of them being in Vietnam and being in the military. You would learn all this stuff from them. My scoutmaster would plan our camping trips on the weekends with something specific in mind. And what I mean by that is that he would, because there was about 4 scoutmasters there, they would all plan our camping trips on the weekends to do something specific. So in other words, we were going to learn how to cook, or we were going to learn first aid, or we were going to learn orienteering, or we were going to learn how to swim, things of that nature. And a lot of times when we would go on these trips, oh, for the weekend, it would only be, we leave like maybe Saturday morning, come back Sunday afternoon, something like that. So it was only a couple of days. And we would learn all these different things. And what they were doing is that they were building a foundation for young men to become leaders and to understand what it took to become a leader, to become a man, to become knowledgeable so that you could survive and that you would be able to do things and be able to teach things to other people. And this was something that was extremely important because, in reality, we don't have those foundations anymore. I'm not 100% sure how Boy Scouts operate today, but, when we were in Boy Scouts, it was completely different. Today we have people that can do what they're told, not necessarily think outside the box or be creative and think for themselves and understand that, hey, I need to, man up and take charge of a situation. If somebody gets hurt or if something happens, what do I do? And so, that's kind of the difference between, what I learned when I was in Scouts versus what they're teaching today. And, Boy Scouts to me is a vital organization for young men. I've always believed that, and I truly believe that to this day. And I think that if they have strong enough leaders who are willing to step up and go into this organization to teach, I think that would be excellent for young men, because then they would have the skills to be able to survive and be able to make it in a world that is unforgiving right now, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better, and that is something that is extremely important. And I try to pass on my knowledge to people all around, and that's part of the reason why, actually that is the reason why I created this YouTube channel, because I want to be able to share that knowledge with people, and I want to be able to give you that knowledge so that you can take it and you can pass it on to someone else or share the video with somebody else. Because in reality, if we don't step up, then who will? Right? That's an old famous saying from Chuck Norris. If a man holds on to a ton of knowledge and doesn't share it with the world, what good is that knowledge? It doesn't exist. It's no good at all. Okay? So I hope that this video has brought something to you. If so, share it with people. Get the word out. And, we're going to be doing a lot more videos. And I hope and pray that God will be with you, and that He will guide you, and that He will lead you, and that He will protect you and your family as you go on throughout this day. Okay? All right. Awesome. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.